Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland, and a city that over 500,000 people call home. The city celebrated its 900th birthday in 2024, so there is a lot of rich history there. And with history comes hauntings. Here are 5 creepy haunted places in Edinburgh. For my fellow Americans who have no idea what I'm talking about, a close is an alley, usually privately owned and often gated. And Brodie's Close, located in one of the oldest parts of the city, is said to be home to a particularly creepy spirit. Deacon William Brodie was a respected cabinet maker and member of the town council in the late 1700s, but his reputation was a lie. As it turned out, Brodie had been robbing the houses of the wealthy people he made furniture for. He acquired even more money when his father died in 1782, and he got his inheritance, though he squandered a lot of it on drinking and gambling. He also had 5 children to support, along with 2 mistresses. He was caught for the robberies in 1787 and hanged the following year. His story is thought to be the inspiration behind Robert Louis Stevenson's famous novella, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But it doesn't seem like the alley's namesake ever truly left. Brodie's ghost has reportedly been spotted in the area, carrying a lantern and rattling keys. He's also said to be accompanied by a fire-breathing horse, which he rides straight into hell. Learmonth Gardens is a beautiful area in Edinburgh's Comely Bank district, but about a century ago, it was reportedly the site of some pretty ugly goings-on that give a scary but important lesson on greed and respect. In the 1930s, 15 Learmonth Gardens was home to the Seton family. When Sir Alexander Seton and his wife Zayla took a vacation to Egypt, they probably thought they'd come home with lots of great memories and stories to tell. They probably didn't suspect they'd be followed by a curse. But when Zayla took a bone out of a tomb, apparently some spirits weren't too happy with that. Upon their arrival home, the Setons were met with all sorts of reported paranormal activity, unexplained noises, flying objects including furniture, and a ghost that looks like an Egyptian priest. Both Zayla and the couple's daughter soon became sick with a mysterious illness, and when Sir Alexander gave the bone to a reporter, the reporter soon gave it back after also becoming ill. Another report says the activity stopped when Alexander loaned the bone to a scientist friend, but when he got it back, it started right up again. The strange occurrences finally stopped when he either destroyed the bone or gave it to a priest, depending on the source. However, the Setons divorced in 1939, and Alexander reportedly felt that he was cursed until his death in 1962. I didn't find any contemporary hauntings of the house, and as of April 2025, it does appear to be on the market. I know this goes without saying, but please don't go up to this house and bother any of the neighbors or residents, past, present, or future. Not only is it rude and creepy, but you never know what sort of curses could still be lurking there. West Bow is a street in Edinburgh that was once the home of a man named Major Thomas Weir. Like William Brodie, Weir was a respected member of society, but also led a secret double life. One night in 1670, a woman walking by Weir's house claimed to see a bizarre paranormal entity. The entity resembled a woman but was twice the normal height of one, and cackled and writhed. It followed the woman briefly before disappearing down another street. This was already a strange enough incident, but it got worse just a few days later, when Weir became gravely ill and gave some deathbed confessions that would make William Brodie look like a saint. Weir, a devout Presbyterian, claimed he was actually an occultist and had been practicing necromancy and witchcraft. He also confessed to bestiality, as well as incest with his stepdaughter and his sister. The sister, Jean, who lived with him at the time, backed up his claims. She said her brother had been picked up from their house by a demonic stranger in a fiery coach and was given supernatural intelligence by another demonic figure. She also said his powers came from his walking stick, which had a human head carved on top and apparently had been given to him by Satan himself. The siblings were interrogated about their claims, tried, convicted, and sentenced to death. Jean was hanged, and her brother was burned alive. His last words were said to have been, "Let me alone. I have lived as a beast, and I must die as a beast." After their deaths, their house sat empty for over a century. Then it was bought by a couple who quickly vacated due to mysterious happenings and demonic apparitions. Over the years, the stories have only increased. Witness reports include a ghost calf, music coming from the building, windows lighting up, and shadows, presumably when nobody else was inside. People have also claimed to see a coach pulled by 6 fiery horses outside the house. The house was originally thought to have been destroyed, but was actually just incorporated into another building. It's now used as a Quaker meeting house, where staff members have reported seeing the ghost of Weir himself. The Banshee Labyrinth's website purports it to be the most haunted pub in Scotland, though it's not clear if that title is self-assigned. Sitting at 2935 Nidri Street, the area the pub occupies was home to some pretty grim goings-on throughout history. The building next door to the pub reportedly used to be the home of Lord Nichol Edwards, one of the richest men in the city in the 1500s. Edwards was said to have a basement dungeon in his house, where he tortured suspected witches before their trials. The trials were likely shams. The area around the pub was also home to a network of underground tunnels used by criminals in the 1800s. There's also the story of a 6-year-old girl named Molly who disappeared in 1841 and who's thought to have been buried in a chimney in the building. Many people believe the ghosts of the victims of these terrible happenings are still lingering. Reported hauntings in and around the pub include the ghosts of a prostitute and young boy in the tunnels, a faceless apparition called the Watcher, guests having their drinks slid across the bar or be flung against walls by an unseen force, and having their legs grabbed under the table. A male ghost in the women's restroom is said to slam doors and turn hand dryers on and off. These female restroom visitors have also reported a shadow looming over the bathroom doorway and feeling breath on the back of their necks, presumably when there was nobody behind them. And then there's the Banshee, from which the pub gets its name. A worker completing renovations on the pub was said to have spotted a woman with long red hair, wearing a gray dress, sobbing into her hands. The man tried to talk to her, but she didn't respond. Then she looked up, and the man was horrified to see her face. Pale skin, rotten teeth, and no eyes. The woman then threw her head back and gave a terrifying wail, the famous Banshee scream. Her scream scared the worker so badly that he passed out from fear. Not too long after waking up, he got the news that a family member had passed away. So are any of these stories true? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, if I ever find myself in Edinburgh, I'm stopping by this place for a pint. You knew I had to have a haunted cemetery on this list, right? Greyfriars Kirk was founded in 1620, the first church to be established in the city's post-Reformation era, and its attached cemetery has quite the history of its own. 1600 Scotland was home to a lot of religious strife, which eventually led to a bloody civil war. One of the most famous graves in the cemetery is that of Sir George Mackenzie, who is known for his persecution of Covenanters, the name given to Scottish Presbyterians at the time. He was said to be responsible for almost 18,000 deaths, and at one point imprisoned 1,200 Presbyterians in the cemetery. These deeds earned him the nickname Bloody Mackenzie. Due to his deeds in life, his mausoleum isn't maintained to this day, and is often referred to as the Black Mausoleum. In the late 1990s, a homeless man ventured inside the mausoleum looking for shelter. For unknown reasons, he opened a coffin and fell into a pit full of the bodies of plague victims. He managed to escape, but over the next few days, strange things started to happen. A woman visiting the cemetery was blasted backward by some unknown force. Another woman was found unconscious, her neck covered in bruises. Was the ghost of Sir George Mackenzie upset at his tomb being disturbed? It was after this that the mausoleum was padlocked, which it apparently still is today. In the early 2000s, either a group of children or 2 teenage boys, depending on the source, broke into the mausoleum and stole a skull. When police arrived on the scene, they found the kids playing with the skull on the grass in an impromptu game of football, or soccer, as we Americans call it. Today, People visiting the cemetery still claim to be bitten and scratched, kicked or pushed by an unseen force. They've also reported burn marks and unusual cold spells, even in the middle of the summer. These hauntings are often attributed to the ghost of Sir George Mackenzie, upset at his grave being disturbed. If this is the case, then frankly, I think he needs to get over it. Both these incidents happened over 20 years ago. I guess when you have eternal life, you can hold a grudge without having to worry about how long it lasts. On a lighter note, the cemetery also inspired the legend of Greyfriar's Bobby, an adorable little terrier dog who reportedly guarded his master's grave for 14 years until his own death. Sightings of ghost dogs have been reported in the cemetery, along with barking dogs, though that last one could easily just be from real dogs. We all know how much dogs love to bark. So those are all the haunted places I have for you today. Let me know if you've visited any of these places and experienced anything paranormal. Unfortunately, the closest I've been to Scotland is flying over it on a trip to London in 2015. Thanks for watching.